Hey guys, and welcome back to Borderlands 3. We are going to be continuing our rundown and or build theory crafting kind of ideas, although again, at the beginning of all these videos, I like to put in a little benchmark to say, we don't know how anything really works. So yeah, but there are some things that we can kind of deduct going off of base games and our previous game, and then kind of building from there. But we're going to be starting with, or not starting with, we're going to be ending with Amara, which in the last part, I did say she was the character that I was least interested in, which wasn't a lie, but like I thought in that ending segment, maybe I just don't remember her skills really well. And yeah, I didn't, and a lot of her skills looked like a lot of fun. I still think she might be the last one I play. I don't know why, it's just like, she seems tough as nails, and honestly plays really well with weird, like not melee, but kind of melee, like Zero, like the same way Zero is melee in Borderlands, not the same way Krieg is melee in Borderlands, you know? Anyway, so let me tell you, our girl has many skill trees. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's run through her skills. Well, actually, first, she has a Mystical Assassin, which is all about her one skill, which is essentially you throw out a version of herself that will phase through enemies, dealing damage to them, which is pretty cool. It also has a pretty low cooldown, which is nice. But yes, this skill tree is entirely dependent on building rush stacks as well as building your damage, but mainly building rush stacks. So that's what we're going to be talking about when we get to that skill tree. Or sorry, we can just do this. We just do one of these. Bang. This skill tree, Fist of the Elemental. Jesus Christ. This is all kind of like Maya's phase lock. It's phase grasp. But yeah, this thing is basically just an elemental skill tree, which has like things that are reminiscent of Krieg, which is cool. But yeah, that's one of them. It's all about like increasing your elemental effect chance, building stacks of certain things, and for whatever reason, there's melee ones stuck in here, which you should definitely try to get. Anyways, and then the last skill tree, Brawler, is kind of like a melee skill tree, but honestly is more just like a tank skill tree. Yeah, this skill tree is great. Like I can't, like that's the thing. Not Maya, sorry. What's her name? Azara or something? I don't know. Azara, I think your name is correct. Let's just see. Amara, my bad. Azara sounds kind of a little bit cooler to me, but anyways. So, if you guys don't know what we do, we're gonna book it through some skills that I think are pretty awesome and noteworthy, which a lot of them are, almost all of them are, so this may be a longer video. But then, at the end, we'll start theory crafting on builds, but I do want to let you guys know what she has going on in some of her skill trees, because it's crazy. So, but I am gonna try to keep my ass moving. So, first things first, do no harm. We're not going to read the text of this, we're just going to explain what's going on here. So basically, this entire skill tree is based on rush. So you can attain, with this perk, if it's maxed out, 10 stacks of rush. And with this perk, you can gain 20 stacks of rush, or at least that's what I'm seeing from it. This skill gives you the ability to, whenever you activate your action skill, you will expend your rush. But it will increase your action skill's damage, which is amazing. This one is kind of so-so, because in order to gain rush, you have to kill an enemy, and then you are granted a stack of rush. And I was like, okay, that's a pretty big ask. But then there's this skill, which says, applying a status effect grants Amara a stack of rush. And of course, activating your action skill consumes all rush. But it says, for every stack of rush consumed, Amara's status effect chance is temporarily increased. So this, right now, just in general, synergizes really well with her elemental skill tree. Like stuff like this, where it's converts a portion of damage dealt by Amara's weapons into her elemental effect. So, for instance, I think on a passive level, she just has electricity on hand, but you can get incendiary damage if you want. And my understanding of this skill is that it will convert a portion of the non-damage that you're doing. So say if you're dealing you have a fire weapon, a portion of the other damage, the non-fire damage, is going to be converted to electricity. So you're going to be applying 2 status effects. And you have things like this, which is the ability for any status effect to spread. So this, to me, and that skill tree in general, harmonizes incredibly well with the whole ability for her just to, gain rush stacks incredibly quickly, which is awesome. And we have more things that are more passive, less about your action skill, but it says Amara gains reload speed for every stack of rush after consuming her stacks, i.e. using her action skill. It will increase your reload speed even more for a few seconds, which is nice. Can stack up to, I guess, 20 times, which is insane, but yeah. But also, how long does it last? 8 seconds. That's pretty good. Anyways, then she has stuff like this, which is also great. She can apparently be a critical kind of build-like character, which is awesome. But yeah, same thing. Whenever you activate your action skill, which is consuming all of your rush, boom, you gain accuracy and critical damage for 12 seconds. Awesome, awesome. And then we have this. This is the thing that frustrates me so badly. I have no idea what this actually means, and maybe I'm just alone in this. But yeah, when I like in Flack's skill tree, he has skills that say -2 seconds from your cooldown if you get a critical, and this is a 30% chance this happens. To me, that's like, oh, okay, that can be nice, and I can understand that. Whereas this one, it's like 25%, and I'm sitting there trying to do math in my head, and I just feel like an asshole. So I'm just like, what the fuck? Anyways, it reduces your cooldown, and this cooldown is already not that long, so good. Also, it's a cooldown that we're going to be wanting to spam consistently, because we're also going to want to expend our rush and activate all these skills. Anyways, then she has this one, which is kind of like a base augment for all of her skill trees, which basically enhances all of her augments, which you can only hold one augment at a time. But there is this one, which is Soul Sap. A portion of the damage dealt by Amara's action skill is returned to her and nearby allies. So I guess it's like a leeching effect, like a leech grenade. There's a bunch of these little blood vial things flying through the air, and they land on you and you heal. But then there's also a bunch of other ones like this right here, sorry. Amara's action skill creates a singularity, pulling enemies towards it. That's awesome, but this does reduce the damage. I still think this is great, especially considering if we're using this one, and we have certain abilities in the skill tree that increase the amount of enemies you hit with that. Anyways, there's Amara's one of those characters where she has so many builds, and all of them seem really good, but like there's so much. I read the skill tree and I was like, mother of God. There's so much going on. Anyways, so it's just a passive buff for all of your augments. You guys can read them if you want. This is just awesome. Fire rate and charge time. So I think there's certain weapons in the game that you have to charge or hold down the button, and it'll start building a charge, and then you'll fire it. So this just decreases that time or decreases the charge time of that weapon. Awesome. And then she has this, which is amazing. I love this. It says enemies take increased damage for a few seconds after they are hit by your action skill. So this whole skill tree is based around you using her action skill. The only thing that's shitty is there's not a lot of abilities that give you your action skill back or reduce cooldown. So yeah, we'll get to it. Anyways, Amara gains increased gun damage. This effect is increased after she activates her action skill for a few seconds. So again, this is all about throwing out your action skill. In fact, I think this skill tree is strong enough with the amount of stacks you can gain with Rush that you could easily just put on cooldown mods and be fine. You wouldn't be losing anything, because that's the only thing you need, is to be able to throw out your super more. But that's crazy. And this one I just love. I love the idea of. It's kind of like a perk that Krieg had, but it says when Amara kills an enemy with a gun or an action skill, she creates a homing projectile that seeks out a new enemy, dealing her action skill elements damage. And again, any overkill damage is added to the projectile's damage. So if we build up an insane amount of stacks of Rush, which with the status effects being applied, I don't think that'll be insane to do. And we're crazily increasing our action skill damage, 4% or almost 5% per stack, and it can stack up to 30 times because we haven't touched a skill yet, but that's insane. And that's going to be a ton of overkill damage. Anyways, you basically get 2 kills. Like a ball of death will fly around and kill people, which is amazing. And then this one is weird. I don't know what it means. Like I get it, but I don't know what to the effect in which it's talking about it. But it says Amara's rush stacks gain increased efficiency. So does that mean for what normally takes, I don't know, like it takes like a kill to get 1 rush stack? Does that mean you get 4 now? Does this mean you get way more rush stacks from just putting an enemy on fire? Who knows? Anyways, and then the last skill tree, which again, Amara is one of those characters that actually the end perk is pretty mind-boggling. Basically, you have 2 action skills, so you can fire action skill twice, and it doesn't come back until your action skill fully recharges. So you can basically spam out this really high damage action skill twice, which is awesome. And the only thing that does is the weirdness is that your action skill does need to go fully again, like recharge fully again. So yeah, that's a bit weird putting that into practice. But yeah, basically, but also, sorry, you gain 10 rush stacks. So you get another, so I think it would add up to 30. So you get 30 rush stacks. That's insane. Again, the thing with builds like this, or just skill trees like this, is they're not, or at least they don't seem too overpowered in the beginning, but oh my god, do they seem utterly broken at the end of the game, when you can have like special guns that ignite things crazy, like a crazy amount, so that you're able to get rush stacks in a blink of an eye, and gain all of that power instantly. But it is this weird give and take of expending your power, but then again you get reload speed and all that stuff when you do expend your power, as well as a crap ton of gun damage. Yeah, that's 40% gun damage whenever you use your action skill. It's crazy. Anyways, but her side abilities or things like this. This is the one I really like. Yeah, so this is the one of the augments that I love, and I think I can't not use it because it seems so cool. It says whenever Amara's astral projection damages an object or an enemy, or object. Sorry, it's my brain. It releases a homing elemental projectile that triggers her action skill elemental effect on enemies. So if we're rocking electricity, that's what it's that's the elemental effect it's gonna take hold of. This one, it says increases the damage of astral projection. That's kind of just nice. Yeah, 50%. Oh yeah. The more enemies your astral projection hits, the more damage you deal. It's kind of like Bore, which is however many things it penetrated increase the damage, but it's enemies, and I don't know how good that will work unless maybe you have the singularity perk, which will pull them together. Although maybe it's like it impacts and then it pulls them together, which would be kind of useless. But anyways, yeah, and then when she has abilities like this, which is Soul Sap, we already talked about that, but when she deals damage with her action skill, a portion of that damage is given to your allies and yourself. I think it's not both, it's just whatever the life essence flies to. Anyways, we're killing time. Her next skill tree, Fists of the Elemental. So this is her phase lock skill tree, as well as just booking it through a ton of elemental effect chances and all these things. So again, there's this one. Amara's status effects deal increased damage over time and have an increased duration. So people will be set on fire longer, that kind of thing. And her action skill status deals further increased to damage. So yeah, so if you're using electricity, that electricity is going to be doing way more damage. Yeah, and then there's ones like this, getting increased handling and accuracy, who cares? Again, this is the one I was talking about, converts a portion of your damage dealt by Amara to your assigned element. So again, if you have a fire weapon, at least to me, it seems like you could be using fire and electricity at once, applying 2 statuses, which would, I think, count with rush. I think it would count as you getting 2 stacks of rush. I may be wrong on that, but who knows? Then there's this one, which is awesome, Wildfire. Whenever you apply a status effect, it has a chance of spreading to nearby enemies. This can stack all the way up to 40% chance, which is insane considering, I think, well, it depends on how this works. Is this every single time, like, the fire dot hits, it has a chance of spreading, or is this just one, like, as soon as you ignite someone, it has a chance of igniting the person next to him? Because that's probably how it works, otherwise it'd be pretty broken. Anyways, then there's this one, take note of this one for other builds. Amara gains increased melee damage, and her melee damage is converted to her action skill element. So whenever she melees, she gets extra damage. Now, look at that, 75 fucking % melee increase. What is that? That is insane. Krieg barely had abilities like that. I remember Zero having abilities where it's like, you get like 15 more melee damage, and then she gets 75 with 1 skill, with 1 point. What? Anyways, and it's awesome because it's right at the bottom, so you can easily get it with almost any build configuration if you're playing melee based. Amara deals increased elemental damage, but the shock damage is further increased. So she does a crazy amount of shock damage on top of the elemental damage she's already increasing. So this, again, she's gonna be, I think she's, out of all of the sirens, Maya, everyone, any elemental person in any Borderlands game we've had, I think she's gonna be the kingpin easily, because this shit is insane. At least to me. Oh, this is a classic. Amara's gun damage is increased whenever someone is in her grasp, which is her phase lock ability, I think. Also, when you kill that enemy, you're instantly reloaded, which is great, and kind of synergizes with one of these perks over here. But anyways, this is one that Maya had. Amara's bullets that damage an enemy have a chance of rocketing and dealing decreased damage to more nearby enemies. So generally, your bullets will rocket towards enemies, which is great, but when you use your action skill, it is increased, and the damage is slightly decreased. Anyways, Amara gains increased magazine sizes, whatever. Whenever Amara triggers an elemental status effect to an enemy, when they die, they explode in that element, dealing her attuned elemental damage along with other elements that is currently inflicted upon the enemy. Okay, yeah, so this one's pretty crazy, at least to me. I could see this one being like a blood explosion, which is kind of what this one was, by the way. That one thing we talked about, yeah, it's Krieg's blood explosion. But yeah, so if they have an element of corrosion, shock, fire, and whatever else, radiation, they will keep popping, dealing crazy damage. So that's pretty solid. Then there's this one, again, yeah, this is what Krieg had similarly, but it says Amara gains lifesteal whenever she deals elemental damage with her weapon. Now, Krieg had one where it was whenever you heal for like the elemental effect dot. So when you apply the elemental effect, the bleed off effect after is what you heal from. But this one, it doesn't seem like it's like that because it's the strict elemental damage you deal with her weapon, sorry. So not your action skill, but even still, your weapon, that's insane. Especially if you have a weapon that it deals a lot of elemental damage, and that's what you're fucking doing this whole skill tree. What? Whenever Amara applies a status effect to an enemy, she gains a chance to randomly electrocute, ignite, and melt them. Yes, yeah, these two skill trees play so well with each other, especially with building rush stacks, especially with just this one skill. So whenever they increase the level cap and you're able to get 2 end-tier perks, it's gonna be crazy. Anyways, then her last ability is Amara's gun. This is a weird one. Amara's gun deals bonus elemental damage based on her action skill's element. So I don't know, but it seems like, for instance, bonus elemental damage 18% of the damage dealt. So it seems like if you're rocking an electricity weapon, and you're rocking electricity element on Amara, it'll just do 18% of more damage dealt. I don't know exactly what that means. That's a weird one. I keep trying to break it down in my head of like how much would that be, and I get exhausted and I just move on. But her last skill tree, Brawler, which is if anyone wants to kind of make a melee shotgun kind of build, this seems like it's for you, and for me, for that matter. All right. Okay. So first of all, your slam. Oh wait, no, we didn't. Wait, I'm sorry. Yeah. So when it comes to her like augmented super abilities, the Eternal Fist. Yeah. So we've had this ability in previous games with Maya. Basically, your phase grasp will keep seeking out enemies until the cooldown fully ends, which is cool. It can go up to 4. It can take up to 4 enemies. After grasping the target, a large fist appears, smashing the area, dealing damage nearby. Now this stays for a bit. So even if you kill your target and your phase lock ends, the fist will keep smashing the ground. Cool, then we can change our augment to fire if we want, or our elemental skill things to fire. Awesome, this is really cool. Singularity pulls in enemies, again, that's awesome. And then there's this one. Amara summons a giant fist that bursts from the ground and locks the target enemy in place for a few seconds. Enemies near the grasp target are linked, sharing damage to those enemies, which is great. So again, this is like a great crowd control ability. The only thing is that grasp actually, wow. Phase lock is on a 7-second cooldown. That's not that bad at all. I'll be. What? No, that's 16-second cooldown. I was reading the wrong thing. Anyways, neat. Still neat. And now on to Brawler. Sorry. Okay, so we just get a base health increase, 40%. That's a lot. This is my favorite. Amara's weapon shots deal bonus damage based on the distance to her target. The closer the target is, the greater the distance. So this is basically the closer you are. So shotguns, melee. Wait, is it just weapons? It's just weapons. Shotgun would increase your damage based on this, or SMG, anything like that, which is awesome. Very much puts her in the category of shotgun user, which is cool. And this one's crazy too. Amara gains consistent health regen. The lower her health, the more powerful the regen. Also, activating an action skill will double this effect, or double the regen. And that's 5 health in general. And there's this skill, which it says, for a few seconds after using her action skill, Amara's arms remain and give her 40% damage reduction for 15 seconds. And to point out, like, what do you call it? If you're just using phase lock, which comes back in 16 seconds. What? But then again, that's kind of not true, because it's an action skill that like stays. It's more better with this one, where this one, like, you use it and it's over, and then you start getting that cooldown back. But even still, nutty craziness, love it. Then there's this one. Whenever Amara deals damage to an enemy with her action skill, she gets a stack of this one thing. That stack gains you gun damage and health regeneration for a few seconds. Also, the stacks decay after a few seconds. So, the thing that's weird about this one is you have to hit enemies. So I feel like this really puts it in the with your action skill. So this really puts it into like a certain category. So I think this would work really well with your phase lock and stuff like that. I'm not sure how well it would work with this, because it just seemed like this is less, like, kind of more challenging to sync up. And maybe if you couple this with the singularity, although you need to push down this skill tree in order to get that. I don't know. Anyways, this one, Amara deals increased splash damage and reduces splash damage. I wouldn't get this, but okay, sure, I don't know. Oh yeah, this one. Whenever Amara takes damage, she gains a stack of mindfulness. For each stack of mindfulness, Amara gains improved shield recharge delay and movement speed. Now again, this can stack up to 25 times, and this is just you taking damage. And you get movement speed. 4% movement speed that can stack up to 25 times is crazy for one, and the shield recharge delay that can also stack up to five times. Yeah, your shield's just gonna be coming back constantly. I don't even think there's gonna be any delay left, unless you have a really delayed shield. So yeah, I don't know. This does kind of like go against certain shields that are like roid shields that are like amplifying melee damage, which you'll want to keep down. So the skill tree may not be for you, or that perk may not be for you. But then she has this, which is awesome. Find your center. Amara gains increased melee damage. Just awesome to have. It's also 100% more melee damage. What the shit? Additionally, for a few seconds after she uses her action skill, Amara gains increased melee range. So this, to me, is where she starts, like, that skill makes it a lot of fun. Not only are you now melee applicable, but you're gaining 75% of your melee range. That's awesome. And it's for 20 seconds, which most skills come back, most action skills are almost at their way completed at that point, which is great. And then this one gives her movement speed whenever she uses her action skill. So, it's a very specific kill skill. Killing an enemy with your action skill gains your allies increased movement speed. Okay. For a few seconds. Okay. Is it are you just your allies? Well, that's shitty. Well, it says team movement speed. It's only 10%. I don't think this is worth it. Anyways, Amara gains maximum health and elemental resistance. An action skill element. Sweet. Max health, elemental reduction. Nice. I wouldn't choose this probably. I would just get this because you need skill points. Anyways, whenever an enemy damages Amara, she automatically throws an energy orb back at that enemy, dealing her action skill elemental damage. This has a short cooldown. Yeah, we have no idea what the effect of this is. I mean, we kind of do, because there's certain things that just talk about increasing her like elemental damage, her elemental effect damage, like the shock and whatnot. So I mean, it can kind of scale off that, you'd think. But anyways, this one's awesome too. When Amara deals melee damage to an enemy, she gains action skill damage and increased gun damage for a few seconds, which is crazy. Also, her action skill damage gets increased by 75%. I have not seen it. She usually ended, like, all the other skill trees are like, you gain like, I don't know, 30 more damage. They're just like, how about 75% more? And I'm like, okay, that's a lot. It's just a lot, honestly. Especially if you just keep all of her skills also just buff the base amount. Anyways, when Amara is in fight for your life, this is also awesome because it's just one skill point. But she basically gets a second life. So when she dies, she'll get pulled back, get 100% of her health back, but also she creates an action skill elemental nova, which just means it'll create a nova in whatever element you have applied, that will knock back nearby enemies. This has a long cooldown, 2 minutes. But that's fine. That's a second life. That's awesome. Yeah, and then lastly, you guys will really know this perk. Gearbox loves this perk. It's on every pseudo melee character. Yeah, but it's called Blitz, or it's a melee override. So it says when you press V, or your melee button, while aiming at an enemy, Amara will dash a short distance toward them, reminiscent of Zero as well as Athena. Yeah, she'll dash forward, performing a special melee strike, dealing elemental melee damage. If the person she uses Blitz on dies, Blitz's cooldown is returned immediately. Also, you just get a fucking solid 100 damage on melee damage on top of just that. So, yes, what? Anyway, so that's really cool. And also she has, oh, I didn't really explain her thing. Yeah, her main, this skill tree's ability. But it's called Phase Slam. We've seen it a bunch, actually. It was one of the first action skills we've seen. Amara leaps into the air and slams the ground, dealing damage to all nearby enemies, knocking them up. Neat. And then there's this one. Amara summons a line of fists that erupt from the ground, dealing damage to enemies in front of Amara. Then she has this one, which basically just changes it so you're about to do your slam, but instead you suspend yourself in air, doing an elemental beam for a brief moment, and then finishing with a slam, which is pretty cool. Kind of gives you some long range and then close range. Kind of you need to, I think, be careful about where you use that in order for it to actually be relevant. Blight Tiger. All right, this just converts your element to corrosive. And then there's this one. Amara's action skill now creates a nova when damaging an enemy, dealing damage to all nearby enemies. Yeah, this one and this one intrigue me greatly. The singularity. In fact, I think I might get that one. That one sounds a little bit better. The reason why is because, at least with the build, like I like this build a lot, and I can see so much potential within all of these skill trees. But I really do like this action skill. Like, I don't like phase lock. I just find it kind of boring. I'm sure it's great, but yeah, I don't like slam. I don't want something it's a one and done thing. It's on a 35-second cooldown. I want something that I can use consistently. So of course I want this one. Also, I like the idea of just increasing your action skill damage and then summoning forth an orb and then being able to do that twice, and then also having your cooldown reduced because that's an ability on the perk tree. But also just becoming immune to all damage like this. Because these two skills, I didn't really mention it, but they synergize incredibly well. So the lower your health, well, first of all, we're gaining an increased amount of health. So it doesn't even matter if our health's lower, it's still a big ass number. And a lot of health. So the lower our health, the more vicious the regen, which is great. But then on top of that, after we use your action skill, we regain a crazy amount of damage reduction. This potentially, which is, well, actually, I think I'm gonna be playing melee, so we may not want that. But even so, just those 3 things play really well in itself. And in order to really make use of this, you need an action skill that can come back fairly fast, because this lasts 15 seconds. And we can reduce this cooldown, which is only 28 seconds. It's the lowest cooldown out of all of our stuff. And the reason why is because phase grasp is what, 16 seconds, but it's also more than that because of the 7 seconds that exist. Because it only will start recharging when it's done, but the whole thing is it's holding an enemy there for a long time, so it's technically a little bit longer, or not a little bit longer. In fact, I think this one may be a little bit too long, but then again, we can reduce that with this. Anyways. Words. Yeah, because it says Amara's action skill now creates a nova when it damages an enemy. So, to me, this ability allows us to potentially hit multiple enemies because it's just like a giant like blast in front of you because she throws out her little decoy thing. And I think this counts as your elemental or your action skills thing, correct? I think. Or wait, is this just your guns? It's your action skill. She creates, so yeah, I think that would maybe scale off the same thing. Who knows? That's a bit like up in the air. If that ball would also create a nova with the person it hits, or just deals damage to, which is crazy. Anyways, and it just reduces the action skill damage a little bit, and we're doing so much action skill damage that I don't think it matters. Anyways, this one. Enemies damaged by Amara's action skill become confused and temporarily attack their allies. However, action skill cooldown is increased, which I do not want. Yeah. So yeah, it's a no-go. It's a no-go with that one, because that one conflicts with that kind of pattern of using your action skill, because I want to use my action skill more, and this will add a 20% increase to your action skill cooldown. Can't you just do the math for me and say it's this many seconds? Because I don't want to fucking sit here and do the math. Anyways, we've done it. We've arrived. We're finally at the point when I've explained the skills, you get an idea of her power, but now we can start building. So the problem that arises with Amara is that there's so much to build for. She's so incredibly strong. Like, I didn't even put it together, but this is just this one skill tree with rush stacks. It's the fact that you can get 30 rush stacks in total when you get all the way down the skill tree. And that affects your action skill damage. And then she has abilities that convert your elemental effect chance and all these crazy things that I think it could just be disgusting. Disgusting amounts of damage, and she's probably going to be one of the stronger characters toward the end game. but also she has the ability to have survivability. Yeah, so I really love this skill tree because I really like the idea of having an action skill that's just constantly with you. And with the addition of cooldown, I feel like that could be attained. So we got max rush stacks, awesome, on both sides. I don't really care with the reload speed or swap speed, mode switch speed, I don't care. Maybe I would when we play the game, maybe it's super slow and it hinders your ability to attack. I don't know. This is all just anecdotal, I guess. But anyways, I don't really care with the reload speed based on the stacks. It probably wouldn't be bad just to throw 1 in there. Yeah. Critical damage, I don't really care. I don't think we're really built for that. It's almost like we're building for close range melee as well as superpower ability. Yeah. And then there's this, which is all action skills are increased. I have life drain just to give me some more healing for myself and my allies. Awesome, awesome. I also got this, which is the ability for whenever you damage an enemy, an elemental projectile flies out and does damage. Awesome, love it. There's this one, increases damage for all sources, makes enemies weak, which is great, increases your gun damage based on the stacks you have, and when you use your action skill, you get even more gun damage. Yes. And then this one, when any overkill damage is thrown at an enemy, which is crazy, again, considering you can build up a ton of action skill damage. So yeah, efficiency with rush so that we don't have to keep depending on so many things. And then this one, which is gaining 10 more rush, increasing all of our action skill damage and whatnot. And then over here, I went over and got this one, which is converting a portion of your damage dealt to your weapon for your action skill. So again, the way that I see this is if you have a fire weapon and I'm dealing electricity damage, when I shoot an enemy, there's a chance, there's both chances of both of these happening. And I know there's specific weapons that have a chance of doing both elements. So I think with Amara, you may be able to basically hit for almost, well, no, there's a lot of elements in Borderlands like radiation, but you may be able to hit for like a lot of elemental damage, building rush stacks incredibly quickly. Yeah, unless it's like one enemy and they're done, so you can basically get 2 rush stacks with one enemy, killing them and applying 1 status, but I think it's as many statuses as you want. But then I also threw 2 points into spread, so that every time I'm doing all this elemental spreading, elemental damage, it has a chance of spreading to nearby enemies, giving me more rush stacks. Awesome. And then we have this one because of course I wanted to kind of play melee, and that's the builds that I'm going for, is like the weird melee, this skill tree build. My other skill tree is just the inverse of this, so I have more melee than I have that. Anyways, so I really like this ability. The fact that, again, the lower your health, the more you regenerate. Awesome. I also like this ability, where the more you just have a lot of damage reduction, which is amazing. And then I have this one. I wish I would have got that one. I forgot that was what that perk was. I thought that was a critical perk, but no, it's the whole closer proximity. You get more damage. I probably would spend some more skill points then, but I didn't know that's what that one was, because we were reading the skill tree again, and I forgot that's where that was. Anyways. And of course, we got this one, which is increasing Amara's damage on a passive, her melee damage, as well as giving you some good reach, which I just think would be fun, again, if you're playing that kind of like spamming out your action skill and trying to gain rush stacks, but also throwing a melee punch, which will knock back enemies, dealing some damage, also applying an elemental effect on them, and it comes back. Oh, it comes back every 20. No, it says duration is 20 seconds. So you can do this. You get an extended melee range for 20 seconds. Okay, good. It's not on a cooldown for 20 seconds. Thank God. This is on a cooldown for 8 seconds, which is nothing. But anyways, that's kind of the build. Again, she has so many builds that and it requires so much number crunching that I just don't have the patience. But this is what I came up with for the time being. Anyway, so this is the other build that I wanted to do, because I really like the idea of Amara's the melee build, just seeing what that's like. In fact, I think this is the best build to go down for your first playthrough, when you're just climbing to 30, because you get not only a crazy amount of health regeneration, awesome, just amazing. Also, it's doubled when you use your action skill. What? Sure, craziness. And you get this ability, which is your max health is increased. That's just great. Also, again, I would probably choose this. I forgot this perk was here. Anyways, or that was what that perk was. I threw 1 point in here because I thought, sure, I just don't really I like the idea of you getting your action skill to hit multiple enemies is a bit finicky for me. I'm sure like it really plays to have certain builds. Like if you have this, I think it's this where I don't know what it is. There's like a certain one of her abilities where it basically allows you to, her action skill grabs multiple enemies, which would really work with that ability. When Amara deals damage to an enemy with her action skill, which I think that would deal some damage. then she gets this buff, which I could see just being nutty if you just got a cluster of enemies. But anyways, yeah, I got the whole resistance. You guys know the deal. I also got this because, I feel like I should remake this because I made this morning and I didn't realize that I forgot that a majority of your damage that's coming from melee is going to be roid shields and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Also, a lot of her melee damage has, like, especially with this perk, converts it converts her elemental damage to melee damage or something like that. So yeah. Or yeah, her elemental skill damage is increased. Yeah. I don't know. So maybe this is the best build to get like crazy damage numbers. I just really like this ability where you just throw out a version of yourself. Anyways, then again, this one's not bad either, where you're just throwing out like a row of fists. It's kind of a similar beat. Anyways, yeah, and then we got this one again, just the entire skill tree that has to do with damage and things like that. Also this, where you fire a little orb. I'm not sure if that would be as good because it's on an 8-second cooldown, which 8 seconds for that is a good bit of time. It's also 1 point, so who cares? Yeah, and then there's this one, whenever you deal melee damage, you deal increased gun damage. That's crazy. Also it synchronizes really well with just like how, like this to me, like this skill tree is a response to how Zero was played. And Zero had to be played very awkwardly, it seemed. And I love Zero, but like the melee builds for Zero seemed very odd. Like it didn't seem like it flew together at all. It just seemed like people were like trying to make things work, and it worked, but it was never like made sense. It never like certain skills fed into other skills, and that they just bulldoze on top of each other. It wasn't like that. At least to me, it wasn't. But with stuff like this really makes sense, because that's the whole thing you're doing with Zero, or with Amara now, is you're doing any other thing, like shooting someone with a shotgun, trying to close the distance. You finally close the distance, you punch, you get an extension on your punch, or melee damage, which is awesome. When you deal melee damage, as well as you're dealing gun damage, you're now throwing out your action skill, which does even more damage. And yeah, in fact, I think was there something over here that had something to do with that? Amara gains increased gun damage and efficiency after she uses her action skill. Yeah, so these two skills could maybe really play together. Yeah, and you could get both. Could you get both? Maybe you could get both. I don't know. Let's reset real quick. If we go over here, I'll be right back. We'll also equip this just because it sounds great. We'll go over here. Try to build on this skill tree a little bit as much as we can. Get some stacks of rush when we deal elemental damage, because that seems pretty legit. No reload ability. Cooldown, yes, because we want to get our actions go back faster. Sure, might as well increase that. Put more perks in that. Put more perks in this. Awesome. One more perk in there. Perfect. And now we get access to this, which is, yeah, whenever we use our action skill, we gain more damage. So now they're syncing up. Cool. Awesome. Good times. And just to be able to have this stack more, I'm just going to convert our weapon to deal more damage so that we can build more rush stacks with this. In fact, I probably would swap that with this. Anyways, although I do want that tasty action skill damage. Anyways, so yeah, I'm not sure, maybe that seems a lot better because it's playing off of this and this, and going all the way down over here, which is whenever we use our action skill, we gain an increase to that. Also, how long is this? 28 seconds. It's the same as the other one. Would that be easier to hit, you think? I don't know. But also, it creates a Nova. I don't know. I don't know. Regardless, yeah, that to me makes more sense for a melee build. But then again, there's so much. Oh, that's why I went down here, is to get this 75% melee damage. God damn it. Craziness. I don't know. I'm sure there's like, because again, they have words like this where it says, like, or this one where it says converting your damage based on your elemental affects your skills damage. So if you buff your skills damage to being crazy, then you're going to be doing so much melee damage. So then again, I'm not trying to just make a melee build. I'm trying to make something where I can use my action skill, but also bounce between using a shotgun and all those other ones. We got discombobulated real hard, I'll be honest. But nevertheless, guys, I always love doing this. This is like the shit I think about in the shower, and I'm just like, well, what if this skill plays off of that? Oh, and there's this legendary weapon that has this prefix, and it does this, which plays so easily into the one ability to transfer elemental effects, giving you crazy stacks. So if you add that to the ability, and then that makes the build come together and allow you to gain stacks that much faster, and it bulldozes, and I may be a freak. But ladies and gentlemen, that of course is Amara, which again, I kind of reflected on me when having read through all of these, is one of the things I said from the very get-go when it comes to my wish list for Borderlands 3. Way back in the day when we didn't even for sure know it was coming out, but we all knew it was coming out because it's Borderlands, or it's Gearbox's baby. But One thing I always hoped is that I really hope Gearbox took the lessons that, or the good things that existed within the pre-sequel. And then one of the things that pre-sequel did so painfully well, in my opinion, is it made skills feed into each other, and it wasn't just kind of messy. It was very, the builds in the pre-sequel to me were very powerful, and they made sense. And I see nothing but that in Borderlands, in the skill trees that we've covered, how certain skills are now very much playing into the build itself, and not just being, you get more fire rate when you kill something, sure. And yeah, but there's nothing to help you kill anything in a burst, so you can gain those stacks, so you're just kind of stuck, you know? Whereas now, with all of the other characters, it seems like their builds feed into itself to some extent. And yeah, and especially with the augments and stuff like that. So that was something that I'm so happy to see in Borderlands 3, or at least, again, maybe the gameplay is not optimized well, but based on the skill trees, it seems like at least the skill trees are. Also, beforehand, I was telling you guys how, for right now, for me, Flak is at the top. It's the person that I'm going to be playing the first. It's a toss-up between Zane and Mose, because Mose has like a Krieg-like action skill that is always up kind of thing. It's like a roaming action skill. And Amara was all the way at the end. And I kind of still feel that way, but they're not. It's not like that. It's not like they're like 10%. Like Amara's all the way at the bottom. Amara's just all the way at the top. It's just the one that I'm the least interested in. But also, I shouldn't even say that, because after looking through her skills, it seems a lot of fun. Like the fact that you get resistance after using your action skill. You can build yourself to use your action skill a lot. You also have Many Must Fall, basically, which is 0 skill. You also have increased melee range. And you also have more damage, but also that damage is now affected with your elemental effect damage. So, yeah, you know, that's what I mean. Things really start feeding into itself, whereas in Borderlands 2, it didn't do that at all, at least not to me. I've always felt like skills just kind of happened, and everyone just was like, okay, get the fire rate one, because why not have more fire rate? Whereas now it's like, oh, this skill is important because it does this, and it enables that to happen more, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking to you guys' ear off. Thank you so much for the time you guys have given me, because these take a bit of time to go through everything. But I also thought if there was a person that wanted to, play a certain character, and they were like, hey, I don't know, maybe they don't want to read the entire skill list, or think about what is going to be maybe powerful, maybe they could watch these videos. Of course, I don't expect everyone to watch all of the videos, but like, if you're interested in playing Amara, maybe watch this video to see if she was your speed. And if you did, at least maybe now you know how to build her, or what you want to go for. But for me, I'm definitely going down the melee skill tree, just because it seems like there's so many powerful things at the get-go, like 36% damage dealt is bonus when you get close. Amazing. Health regeneration, all those things, resistance, so many things. This, and then getting this. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Also, you get this ability, which creates novas when things die. So you're just like a death monster. I love it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe button above me, as well as 2 videos to my right. Appreciate you so much, and goodbye.